8:04. Apologies for the slightly late start, but we've got a right bunch. I'm in the lobby waiting to come up today. Sorry about that. I've tried to discipline them. But welcome. You're listening to the Sports Therapy Association podcast, episode 78 on this fine day of November the 30th, 2021. We let you down last week for the first time in 78 weeks. There was not an episode of the Sports Therapy Association podcast, but that's because we were all at Therapy Expo at the NEC in Birmingham. So on the screen with me to start off this evening, I've got founder of the Sports Therapy Association, Gary Benson. Hey, Gary, how you doing?
Yeah, good evening, Matt. All well here, thank you.
So we're going to start off this evening. Oh, by the way, if you're listening to the podcast, then obviously what happens if you're new to this, and hopefully after Therapy Expo, there will be a few new listeners, then you're listening to a live recording. If you do want to join us live, then you can either come along to the Sports Therapy Association Facebook page. You don't have to be a member. You can just go into that. And if not, you can go to YouTube where we stream live as well. And you can watch it there. And also, once we go live, it's on LinkedIn as well. So we've got a few places you can catch us. And by joining us live, you can obviously ask questions live. Your comments will come up on the screen. And it's a great way of networking and kind of sharing the time for the hour, which is every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. It's a great way of networking and meeting fellow-minded soft tissue therapists. You haven't got to be a sports therapist. Don't let the title fool you. Any soft tissue therapist is welcome and encouraged to come along as we break down these disciplinary kind of titles and doors. For example, in the house already coming in, I've got I don't know if that's Grenier, if it's a sneaky Irish name, or if it is Grenier, isn't it? Grenier Walsh is here. Hi everyone, it's a while since I've been able to join. Hi Grenier, how you doing? So yeah, when you come along, it's a great way of chatting and also putting up your logo, which is nice as well for the world to see. So Gary, we're back from Therapy Expo 2021. How was it for you?
It was great. I'll just say hi to everybody. All I'm seeing is Facebook users apart from Grenier. Grenier's one of our regional representatives from Ireland. And I hope you're recovering. I think you've got caught with COVID, Grenier, so I hope you're feeling better now. Yeah, Therapy Expo, it was, we spoke before and I was quite nervous. Since lockdown, I kept myself sort of locked away and tried to be as safe as possible. And I was a little bit nervous about going and meeting that amount of people. And I said I'll be wearing a mask and fist bumping people. Literally within about 2 hours, I couldn't talk. My throat was dry. I had to take the mask off so I could keep drinking. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know whether it would be really busy or not, but it was refreshing to see that there was some space around. So it wasn't it wasn't really busy, so we weren't close to each other. So it was good. I think the footfall was adequate. I'm not sure. Having not spoken to the team yet at Therapy Expo, I'm not sure what the actual numbers were, but from the STA point of view, we were very well received, and what I got from it was a great sense of community from the regional reps and the STA members, and it was like just meeting up with friends again.
Yeah, it was lovely. And we're going to, I'm sure when we're going to have later on tonight, the three people who valiantly joined me pre-conference to have a chat about expectations and hopes and that sort of stuff. We had Mike Grice with us, and we also had Stevie Barrat, not Barrett as advertised. And we had Catherine Rhyme as well, STA Regional Rep. They'll be joining us shortly. But yeah, we could go on for a whole episode about how wonderful it was to meet each other after pretty much 77 weeks in a row of seeing the same kind of crowd online if you join us live and sharing loads, especially over COVID. It was quite emotional kind of journey for a lot of people. But what we're going to do eventually is when we get the three up is to talk about how effective was it as a conference, because that's the important thing. Let's not forget people are paying to go there, and we're going to talk about content and delivery and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was lovely to see people, wasn't it, Gary? And yeah, the STA I felt so proud to be part of it. It was very emotional. We had a great stand opposite the theatre update, Therapy Update Theatre, which was brilliant. Bottlenecked it quite a few times with our presentations, which was lovely to see. People having to go, I can't get through here. This is very annoying, which is fantastic to see. Did you get lots of people talking at the stand? Because there was loads of reps and people there, and Jake. Was it quite busy at the stand whilst the presentations were going on?
Yeah, I don't think I stopped talking for the whole 2 days. I didn't get a chance to go for lunch, or I had to grab a piece of flapjack, which Claire bought for me. It was very nice, Claire, thank you. And a drink when I could. On the way home, I sort of had a bit of a crash, really. I just thought, wow, that was an amazing 2 days, just to meet up with everybody and to renew relationships and to make new ones. And obviously it was the first time having the sort of the whole team there with obviously you taking over the organising the conference, Matt. That made my job a lot easier, and I wasn't as stressed as I am normally. So I really enjoyed it, and I think I enjoyed it for the first time. Usually I think it sneaks up on me, and there's a lot to organise. But yeah, Jake coming on board as well. He seemed to have everything sorted. He was building relationships with people, doing the social media. So yeah, overall it was a really enjoyable couple of days.
Jake was totally in great form. It was an advantage having Subway just a couple of steps behind him, because he was able to fuel that massive frame of his as regularly as he needed. But like Chris Kitson was there, and the SIF guys were there. It was just a really positive, not there because we're getting paid for it, but there because we just wanted to share the good word and help people out. It was really, 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 really positive. And I'm sure the feedback we've had so far, that I've definitely had, has been what a great 2 days. In fact, there's quite a come down afterwards. A few people, I feel it all the time. Whenever you go to something like that, you just kind of wake up again the next morning, probably going to work and just thinking, nothing could compare with that, really, could it? But anyway, so yeah, we've got a bit of an update, have we, tonight, Gary, from you?
Yeah, what I wanted to come on and just talk about is we've had a lot of messages, a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls yesterday and today about the new COVID variant, and whether we're going to update any guidance. Now, we are monitoring the situation. I know the Sports Massage Association, they issued some guidance to their members, and it was along the lines of, nothing's changed. So we monitor the situation. The government is going to issue guidance in 3 weeks' time, so the week before Christmas. But just as a reminder to all of our members that in the STA members only Facebook group, there is a file section, and in the file section there is a guidance document which was dated, it was July 2021. And just to recap on that without going through each and every scenario, face masks are recommended, gloves are recommended. We're not a regulator, we can't tell you to wear this, but what we're talking about is best standard, gold practice, things that we can do to mitigate the risk to ourselves, our families, and our communities. So we're saying face coverings for you and your client, gloves for you, aprons and goggles or visors are risk assessed for those of us who might come into contact with bodily fluids, and that's normally the people who do the needling applications. What I would suggest to all members is they update their risk assessment forms just to make note of the new COVID variant. I mean, reports are that it's a mild variant, but the South Africans saying that, and we haven't got any data to back that up. So treat it with respect. Let's do everything we can to keep ourselves safe, and so that we don't go into restricted measures further down the line. We have had a lot of members who have had COVID. I'm speaking to people, daily, weekly, and the reports are that even with PPE in clinic, therapists are coming down with and succumbing to COVID. So, I'll just reinforce and reiterate again, do everything we can to remain professional, to keep our clients, ourselves, our families, and our communities safe.
Yeah, great points. And as always, if you're not sure, then just come along. If you want the news as quickly as it comes, and that's why we still do this every Tuesday, there'll be plenty of updates. So like I say, YouTube or Facebook, or we can't advertise it on LinkedIn yet, but it does appear on LinkedIn when we go live on the Sports Therapy Association page there. Hear it first here. And if you're worried at all and got any questions, then we can, if it starts getting messy, which it could do, then we can start devoting again every other episode with a little catch-up questions with Gary and other people who are in the know. So we will keep working with each other through these very weird times. Right. Anything else, Gary, that needs to be mentioned?
No, not from me, Matt. If you want to, kick me out and get the guests up, then I'll join and answer any questions online as they come in.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks, Gary. Gary is still going to be down in the comments as well. So obviously, if anyone's got any questions regarding that, then feel free to have a little chat with Gary during this time and ignore all of us mere mortals on screen. So take advantage of that fact. Right, Gary. Thanks, mate.
Cheers. Bye, everybody. Cheers.
Right, so there we go, Gary, the great Gary Benson, founder of the STA. So there we go. Right, so what we're going to do now then is I'm going to bring up the 3 people on purpose who came here before the actual expo, and we had a chat about hopes, expectations, that sort of thing. Before I do, just to make it clear, some of you who are coming up with, for example, here, let's have a look with the comments. If it just comes up as Facebook user, okay, without your logo, then what it means is you are watching this via a group, and because of Facebook restrictions, then in order for us to see your stuff, you have to sign a declaration. There should be a link at the bottom of the original post saying that if you want to be able to do comments on this stream, then click here and blah blah blah. You just have to say yes and give permission for your details to be shared. It's a Facebook thing. There's not much we can do about it, but there is a link. But I can see here where it says, hello Gary and Matt, honored to have Matt moderate mine and Sonia's talk. By definition of talks that I monitored at Therapy Expo and the mention of Sonia Fierro, then that must be Robert Crowley, who, yes, I did have the pleasure of sitting through and moderating their talk. Chairing it. It was great. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for joining us today from Norfolk, probably. But yeah, it was a great talk, and I'll be mentioning that later on. It was a fine example of a modern talk which ticked all the boxes in terms of welcome to 2021. It was great to watch you and Sonia Fierro in action on the stage, and we'll be following that up with definitely something. We had a little chat when I announced that later on to do with CrossFit, but I'll mention that later on. So good to see you, Rob. Thanks for joining us. Just before I bring up the trio, Tim Grigg has said here, STA have, in my opinion, set the best industry standards during COVID. Well done. All. I didn't pre-read that. I didn't choose it. I just read out the comments that come up. But thanks, Tim. That's very, very kind of you. It did feel like at the conference we were doing a great job. I know that sounds a bit kind of like, patting ourselves on the back, but well, we did do a great job. We really represented it well with some great presentations, and I'm happy because I'm proud to say that. So, right. So we have kept them out for long enough. Let me get rid of that and make room in here for, in no particular order. Let's live dangerously. Stevie Barrat. Who knows?
Oh God!
Who knows what will appear? Hey, Stevie, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Fantastic. And then next, Mike Grice. There
Hello.
we go. Movement Therapy Education. Fantastic. And we've got Catherine Reimer, STA Regional Rep. There we go. We made
Hello.
it. How are you, people? We laughed because last week Stevie had a little bit of Stevie Barrat, as he should now be known across social media, had a few internet connection problems. That's why we're laughing. We're not laughing at him just in case you listen to the podcast and says, who is this character? Why are they laughing at him? It was
yes, they are.
For Wi-Fi issues. Let's just make your name up there. How you doing, guys?
Really good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Really good.
Splendidly well, thanks.
Got over I mentioned earlier on, I know, Catherine, you put something online, and I just kind of reiterated your feelings there. I don't know whether it's the same for all of you, but it was a bit of a downer, wasn't it? It was pretty much a high there, and then coming back to reality. However nice, obviously it's amplified if your reality is far from what you want, but however good your reality is, it's kind of like coming back from holiday, isn't it? Did you get a downer at all, Mike or Stevie?
I slept really well on the Thursday night.
Yeah, Mr. Daniel Lawrence, who we obviously give our best wishes to, suffering away. But yeah, you're a busy man. So yeah, Mike slept really well. Stevie, for you, when you came back, was there a little bit of I miss all these people?
Well, yeah, obviously miss all those people, but Friday I was kind of busy. I had a lot of things to sort out, so yeah, it was right. Get up, get on, things to do, and then I was busy again on Saturday. But when you kind of sit back and have time, you kind of go, "Oh, that was nice," That's a shame. We're not doing that anymore this week.
Catherine, it didn't even cross your mind. You just got back and cracked on with things, didn't you?
Well, I went out on a Christmas do at work on the Friday, but it wasn't the same as the Wednesday night we went out.
Wow, what comparison. That is very nicely done. Yeah, nice use of comparison to show emotion. Yeah, no, it was tricky. It was such a beautiful time. And we could spend forever talking about how lovely it was to see each other, see people. I mean, quickly going around the room, like I've never met Claire Minchell in person, even though I've probably known her for about 5 or 6 years. It was fantastic to meet her in person. Ollie Colburn, loads of people that I met up with the first time. Apart from members, I'm just talking about speakers, but it was lovely to see so many people. Was there anybody in particular without, I don't know, is that a dodgy question? Because you're going to miss people out, but who in particular stayed in your mind? This is your chance to kind of say it was so nice to meet in person. Who?
I went to see the Massage Collective talking on stage. I can't remember which theatre or what it was now. But afterwards, Matt Scarsbrook went, Catherine Reimer, and I went, yes. How do you know? And I was like, oh my God, he knows who I am. I was like,
You must have talked to him on the Wednesday then.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that would make sense. On Thursday, he was slightly less receptive. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Massage Collective were all over, and rightfully so. It was great, and they did a presentation in our theatre as well about cancer and massage. It was lovely to see the three of them together. It was nice. Stevie, did you meet any of your heroes and realise they were just humans?
Mr. Grice, that very man, Mr. Grice. I mean, I've been involved with Mike in some kind of form or other for about 4 years, maybe something like that.
It's been a while.
I've been a couple of places where he's been, but I've never actually had the chance to say hi and chat, and so it was really, really nice to do that.
Yeah, good to meet you as well, mate. After all this time.
Yeah, thank you, and Claire Minchell as well. I've done one of Claire's courses and whatever. Nice to meet her too, and your very good self, young Matt. Nice to meet you.
It was true. It was lovely to meet you and have you moving for more than 10 seconds. Really nice. Yeah, no, it was great to catch up. I think, I mean, I had the impression that a lot of people, a lot of people went to presentations, but it was the buzz in between presentations and things where people just chatting in the kind of side streets of the hall 10 and 9 and stuff. It was totally buzzing the whole time, loads of stuff going on. And we did kind of relax the masks, but like Gary said, we didn't know what to expect. It wasn't like you were all chocker. In years past, Therapy Expo was shoulder bumping and just looking people thinking, I'm never going to see that person, forget it. But it wasn't, we weren't on top of each other. Maybe that's why for some of the people, masks kind of came off unless you're in contact with someone with a mask. But yeah. Okay. So we're going to talk about content. It was lovely seeing each other and we'll do it again soon. But yeah, content. Where should we start off first of all? How should we begin this? Had it changed at all? I mean, it was your first time, wasn't it, Steve? No, yes, Steve, it was your first time.
Yeah.
Catherine was your first time as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so let's go to you, Mike. You've been there you have been there from the beginning, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like Gary's been there. I was there for first kind of second, third and fourth. You were running around crazy working with Rock Tape and just covering people who weren't able to be there, but did you get a feeling from feedback or from seeing things yourself that content in some cases had shifted with the years?
It seems to be going, because I mentioned last time in the beginning it was mainly kind of physio driven, and then it became a bit more sort of holistic massagey, and now I think it was a bit of a nice mix this time. So we had the real scientific people, and then the orthopedic surgeons that Catherine mentioned on the last podcast, and then there was some of the more alternative medicine as well. So I think it was a good mix, really, and I think sports therapists now, especially with those that have watched this podcast over the last year or so, they're becoming a lot more critical and in a really good way. So because they're starting to question things now, and I think that's going to keep people on their toes, which I think is a really, really good thing. And I think that's coming through with the kind of speakers that they've got there now. So it's nice to see the shift back the more kind of evidence-based practice, which is really good.
Fantastic. There's a comment here from Sarah Clapworthy, who's watching live, obviously, said also impressed like Catherine was that a few people knew my name without introduction. I mean, I don't think that happens at so many conferences.
No.
It is quite special that a speaker actually goes, "Hey, Sarah, how are you?" Or, "Hey, Catherine." That's like, you know, the equivalent of like going to some kind of concert and then stopping from singing and kind of like Prince going, "Hey, Catherine, how are you?" Yeah, it's really nice, but I think that's a sign as well, because you know, people, we're a pretty cool crowd and people know your names and we have spoken a lot. Yeah, because you were on the rock tape stand for a fair bit, so you got to talk with quite a few people, so you got a gist of where people were in terms of knowledge. Obviously people are still using rock tape products, and rightfully so, and you've expanded your product line massively. It's no longer like in I remember the first year it was just tape everywhere, here's our new kind of atomic tape and cow tape, and it's all introducing the new leopard print, and it was all kind of that. But now you've got your rock pods and all the other stuff. But was the people coming to talk to you slightly kind of a different level of expectation?
There was a lot. I remember being asked a lot. I was like, right, rock pods, sell them to me, and I was like, well,
right, you do the work.
And so that was interesting, and I was like, well, they just modify symptoms.
Healthy, very good.
And that's the thing. So, you know, I was like, well, what have you heard? And then talking about some of the kind of alternative ways of thinking about those things. But that was what all of our talks are about. They're all about the basically neuromodulation. So basically you put stuff on the skin and it makes it feel a bit different. So and I think because there isn't any of the guff around it, we get a lot more intrigue, I think, because actually we don't really understand fully what's going on. We've got a bit of an idea. We know some of the stuff that hasn't happened, but I think they like the honesty of that. But a lot more people trying to questioning that kind of thing, which is good. It's really good.
That's interesting to hear. Yeah, that's nice. So yeah, I like that. Yeah, people are a bit more clued up. So Stevie and Catherine, you didn't know, you can't compare it with previous years, but you went there pretty clued up because each of you had pretty much 76 episodes of the Sports Therapy Association podcast in your head. You knew things that normally would take 13 years to reach the clinic door, you know, so you could put that into practice. When you were walking around and going to presentations, did everybody kind of seem on the same page, or did you see some stuff where you went, that sounds like a bit old-fashioned, or that's some stuff I've heard which might not be necessarily true? How was it for you? Either of you.
Catherine, you go.
There was one talk, I don't want to name names. I don't want to. There's the diaphragm and pelvic floor one that me and Becky went to see. And it did, I think, cause maybe more questions than answers. I think I'd probably have to look more into it because I don't want to say some of it was wrong or anything like that. But just some of the techniques they were using, and I was like, why? It was just a lot of me just going, why are you asking them to do that? And even I was getting confused with some of the exercises they were showing. And I thought, well, if I'm getting confused, then how am I supposed to ask a client to do that? So that's what I think that was one of the talks that stuck out to me as having a bit more questions than answers.
And that's so interesting because in years before, people would literally be right, notepad, pen, everything they say is Bible, write down, I'm going to do this back in clinic. And then you go back to clinic and do these things, and guess what? You'd only remember the people where it worked and you were sold. You know, so it's interesting. I'm hoping that you're an example of what a few people did. You went there and gone, why? Because that's unheard of often with manual therapy and stuff. What about you, Stevie? How was it for you? Did you find that some things were showing an enlightened kind of modern take, or did some things seem a little bit kind of traditional?
It was a kind of strange one. I mean, the first person I went to see was Mike James. So Mike's golden. You know, he's just such a lovely guy. He talks a lot of sense. You know, he just comes across in that format the same way as he does online. There's nothing, you know, what he's telling you is stuff that he's built up years of. He's evidence informed and all that. That was good. Very good, in fact. And then I went to see somebody who I was a bit unsure of, in terms of my own sort of biases, I guess. And I came away from it, actually. There were two trains of thought when I came away from it. First of all was, did I miss something there, or did they criticise the VPS model at the beginning and then big it up at the end? And then the other bit was, started off really, really basic. I mean, even for me, I thought it was basic. I was like, who is this aimed at? And then went extremely sciencey, so there was a little bit of a sort of conflict there. But I guess that was probably the only one like that. The only other thing I saw, which was, as you say, Matt, writing little notes down, and I would take little points and things to try and remember. But what I actually wrote on this one was me. That the person was coming across as me. It's all about me, And I thought, great opportunity missed here if you're trying to get that message across about what you're talking about, and you keep coming back to me, and so. But that was maybe just me. Somebody else might have looked at that same presentation and thought, "Oh, that was brilliant. How great was that?" And you're bound to get differences of opinion like that with people who watch things, because wherever they're coming from is going to sort of drive what they think about it. And so it's a funny one. I think overall the expo was fantastic. I saw a couple of presentations that were excellent. I mean, they were all excellent, but really excellent. I saw one I didn't expect to go to at all about BikeFit, and what happens after that, which I've got an interest in. And I just think the demos that I saw, the presentations that I saw, I mean, I think there was something for everyone, I would have said. Definitely.
Cool. I like that. That me. And you say it might just be you, but I mean, that's reminding me, if anyone listening, obviously, who's joined us live, feel free to put in the comments anything with regards to what we're talking about. Like, did you see anything that surprised you? Did you see anything which kind of made you question it? Did you go there critically, or did you kind of watch it with a pen and pad thinking, right, what else can I learn? What else can I learn? What can I take away, sort of thing? I'm interested to know. And if you're listening to the podcast as well, we will, 3 weeks ago, we had Liam, who's the content manager for Therapy Expo and Closer Still Media, on the show, and he will be coming back. So if you want to share anything with me in terms of how you found the conference, then send an email to matt@thesta.co.uk, and then I'll digest it. And as long as you tell me the email, you can pass this on to Liam, then I will do so. You could obviously send your feedback straight to Therapy Expo, but because we'll be doing a follow-up show with Liam, then anything, if you listen to this podcast, which you wanted to share, because obviously the more feedback you get, the better the show can be kind of modified for you. That's what it's all about. Same with any course that anyone delivers. Feedback's really important. So matt@thesta.co.uk for any feedback you've got if you're listening to this. Really interesting, you two. I mean, maybe you're biased because, again, if you've watched this show, then one of the things we do appraise is being critical and not taking everything.
Yeah, Becky's just put a comment in the about what
Becky says, let's read it out for those of you who can't see the screen. Becky Carroll, the wonderful Becky Carroll, who was there as well, minus her fur hat, but she was still there. It was okay. We accept that. Becky says, there we go. Off the back of what Catherine said, I think it's fair to say that being a part of the STA podcast over the past few months gave us the confidence to question methods and theories, not to just nod along, but to listen, think, process, and question. Yeah, it's true. So we are a bit all biased. But I tried to walk about as much as I could and just listen to conversations and things going on, and I did get the vibe that people were a little bit more clued up, which was maybe that was just me looking for it. But
I heard one spectacular comment that was made by somebody who was being asked a question, and I'm trying to get. Excuse me, just to try and think exactly what was said, but they were talking about the technique that they had done, and I think then had somebody said, would it be okay to go for a massage after that? And the comment was, I think no, because then that would mean that they would rub out what you had done. And you're like, really? Seriously, you're saying that out loud, you know? But hey ho.
Oh man, there's a few of them. I think yeah. I mean, again, we don't want to. I want to get onto this subject actually, because should we? I mean, there was talk. There was certain presentations where I had a feedback from, or maybe I watched myself, where they were still talking about make sure you get a neutral pelvis, which, again, if you look into certain case scenarios and certain people, then maybe for them personally with their pain experience or their anatomy, the neutral pelvis might be desirable, but then you have to weigh up what is neutral. How do you measure a neutral pelvis accurately? But as soon as you say everybody when they do this exercise needs a neutral pelvis, you're in deep water. You're in such deep water, you're kind of floating in the 1990s. It's not a good place to be. And then there was a few, I don't know, some of the there was quite a few cupping ones going on, not to specify one in particular. And again, there's a place for cupping, obviously, and like Mike, you said, it's another way of stimulating the body in a different way. But some of the claims and kind of almost bringing people back from systemic serious illness thanks to the cupping procedure, very dodgy ground. When we're talking about somebody who is earning money for what they're giving and influencing people and doing it in a health environment, it's not like a comic show or a film red carpet. This is about people's quality of life. So, I mean, Mike, bringing it back to you, because obviously you work in education, you devote so much time to kind of putting the evidence back into some of the manual therapies and traditional things and kind of upgrading it. How does it stand? Is there a way of, should the content in something like this, which is health related and people are getting paid, be monitored somehow or kind of like peer reviewed? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that's missing. But then equally, the Therapy Expo have to sell tickets, so you see some of the packed out auditoriums, the packed out theatres, and they are some of those kind of less evidence informed practices, shall we say, often, not all the time, but quite often. But that and then some that are more evidence informed, maybe it's because the title isn't snazzy or whatever, but then it's not so well attended. So I understand, it's a business and it's a balancing act, but I think there needs to be some kind of quality assurance around all of the sessions. So I think, it's very easy to do individually on your phone. You can have a QR code that you scan and then you rate the session individually whilst you're sitting there. So I think that would be really good. That'd be good for me as a presenter as well, to see, is there something that I'm missing? Was there something I did that you didn't quite get, or something that was really good? And it'll be useful for me to have that feedback as well, because I don't get that other than, the people that come up to me afterwards and thought it was good, which is great. But some people might have thought it was rubbish and they don't speak to me, so I would never know. And then I think that there needs to be some kind of professional peer review as well. So if you're a presenter, you're going to be presenting at a healthcare show, then you need to have, and I mentioned this before about if you go to see someone, then ask for their reference list. So I could, provide references for what I delivered. And then if you want to go do some further reading, then here's my reference list to do that reading and then critique what I've done. And that, I think that needs to form part of it. Like there's almost a kind of presenter pack that you have to give out to the learners that are there, to the people that have attended, so that it shows the quality of what you've done. And then that can be assessed as well by people who are your peers. And I think that would be a really good. It will be quite daunting for some, I would imagine, because it's a fair bit of work to put it all together. But I think to raise the quality, raise those standards, something like that has to be done.
Yeah, it's an interesting, wasn't it? Because, as therapists, we're kind of bound to making sure that morally and ethically, the information we're giving to patients is as accurate and up to date as possible. Doesn't mean we have to only work with what's evidence-based, because that would mean we don't do much at all. But we need to make sure that we are not kind of explaining something with a mechanism of action which is highly unlikely to actually work or function, especially if it could be creating dependency and selling packages and stuff. So, but as a presenter as well, there should be, moral and ethical duty as well to make sure the information you're giving is in education. Imagine if, teachers were in schools were kind of, well, actually they are. This is the problem, isn't it? There are loads of courses out there. I'm feeling a bit down now. I just want to mention one thing.
That's the other thing though as well. I mean, because a lot of the guys that are presenting, they're really good clinicians, but are they teachers? Have they done teacher training? Because and that's you can be the best clinician in the world, but if you don't know how to get the information across, or how to structure a session, then that's really difficult.
That's true. But then there's the other thing as well. There's some great presenters who are great in engaging and demonstrating and really nice people. And they've obviously got a passion to help others. You can see that's why they do it. And then maybe they don't even realize that the information they're putting out there needs to be tweaked a little bit. They don't know the potential repercussions of the words they use. Even when it gets down to the words they're using, like you said, Stevie, kind of it'll rub it out. That's kind of a word we shouldn't be using, because it's too wishy-washy. We need to explain more. So
sometimes the presenters are so polished, they've presented so many times, they're so polished at doing it that they don't need scripts, they don't need notes, they don't need anything. But as you say, Matt, the stuff that they're presenting, which maybe perhaps needs to be tweaked, is there a reluctance to go back and do that, because then it changes the thing a little bit. They have to start again, almost, in a way. I mean, I can get that. I'm not, it's not a criticism as such, but I think that, as Mike said, that if you're going to bring the standard up, which everybody wants to do, you have to bring it up for everyone and in everything, so that the people who attend, I was going to say feel they get their money's worth. That's not quite right, but they feel that they're getting the best experience, the most accurate and reliable experience. So when you're questioning something, it's because it's something that's occurred to you. It's not because it's something which is just outlandish. If you follow me.
Yeah, definitely. And it is getting your money's worth, and it's more than that. It's your patients all getting the knock-on effect of you going there, because it's like a pyramid scheme, isn't it? If you've learned that you're told that you're doing this, you're going to go back and see all your people in clinic. Yeah, it's an interesting one, but it's tricky. I think it's a wide-scale problem. It's the same with magazines, which are putting articles and information. It's the same with the media and everybody. I don't know who, apart from even like journals and papers that get put out, kind of seem to slip by certain peer reviews, and you wonder, how did they get that into a study? So, well, I think, like you said, it is a business, Mike, but there must be money in actually putting out quality information that's going to improve people's well-being. I think there must be a little bit of money there. You know what I mean?
But when we've tried to do stuff in the past where it's been more like research based, it's just bombed. Nobody's gone for it. But then it's that's one of the good things about the rock tape, because yes, it is taping, it is cupping, it is blades, and you can, the old school way of delivering those, you can chuck it in the bin, but that's the kind of hook to get people in, thinking that they might be getting the old school stuff, but then delivering the new stuff, and updating the information that way. So it's a real tough balancing act, between getting enough people interested and then to be able to give them the good information. It's all in the title, I guess. Maybe I need to have a look at the titles next year.
I did like the way that you adapted and used the rock pods though for lower back flexion, because you used a resistance band along two of them as well. So when you're using Al as a model, and seeing like the resistance and how it would change. So I like that way, that technique.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to Roctape. There are other brands of tape out there, but in my experience, I mean, yourself, Mike, and Paul Coker, who had on the show a couple of times, Paul was the guy who kind of kept my clinic just using Roctape the whole time, because at that time, pretty much every other company we considered was saying, it does this, it will do this. And Paul was like, could do that, we're not quite sure, but better to try than just leave it, great spokesman. That's been continued, through Octape. So yeah, good show, you guys. Well done. I just want to mention one thing because this was so inspiring. Gary's reminded me in the comments talking about just evolving and that sort of stuff. There's Tracy McClimmon? Tracy McClimmon is a member who the other day, it was going back probably a few weeks now, but made an announcement. It was just a really cool announcement. And I do want to get Tracy on the show, but unfortunately she works on Tuesdays. But she made an announcement, this might ring true to other educators out there, where she said that what she's doing is creating videos, which she's giving, a little short video, which she's giving to all the people who have been on her massage training courses before. And she's been doing it for a few years, just to basically say, look, hi guys, hope you're getting well. Here's a little update to what I might have taught you maybe 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, even 2 years ago. It's just as we've moved with the research and our knowledge, then we just need to tweak a little bit of the information I gave you originally. It's for free. Hope you're all well. Enjoy it. If you've got any questions, tell me. And that was just so brilliant.
It's ace.
Isn't that just amazing?
Yeah.
Really responsible, because one, you're admitting that things have changed, nothing wrong with that. And two, you're prepared to sort of turn around to clients you've got and just say, look, things have changed, and here's a video just showing how things have changed. And really, really healthy, Tracy. So if you're listening to this, try and get a Tuesday night off, will you? And then we'll get you on the show and you can talk about it and how it went. It's really inspirational, so good stuff. Just checking, looking down here for other questions. Make sure people, I can see numbers are still high there. If you haven't got any questions, sharing your experiences particularly, then make sure you do ask them. And again, if you listen to the podcast, then Matt at the STA.co.uk if you want to share any experiences of Therapy Expo, which you can pick up on in future episodes. Moving on, where are we? 8:44. What else about the expo shall we talk about? What about kind of its organization? I remember, Catherine, one of the things you raised was, obviously we had the Therapy Update Theatre and there was other practicals and other things being delivered. There was a bit of a noise kind of pollution thing going on at times, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Which was a bit of an issue.
Yeah, mine was like when you were even in the big theatres, because there was a lot going on around, I could hear it. So if I wasn't at the front near the stage, all I'd hear is back and I'd start getting distracted. So I wasn't focusing on what was going on stage. So I feel like I could have done with either headphones, something you can like maybe rent. You could rent some headphones or earphones so that you can just focus on what the person is saying on the stage.
Yeah, they did have headphones, for example. I should have said each time when someone came along to the Therapy Update Theatre, there were headphones over all the chairs. But again, in the current pandemic times, the last thing you want to do is put on some headphones that someone else has had on. So, but I like your idea of maybe like on a plane where you get those packet headphones. That's a brilliant idea, Catherine.
Yeah, because you could pay like a deposit at the beginning
Yeah.
and then you give them back at the end, so you get your deposit back.
Or even just like if it's a couple of quid, I think most people just say great, and then if you could plug into something and then you could listen to the speaker, that would be a nice solution. Stevie, were you bothered by the noise pollution at all? Were you distracted by what was going on outside theatres?
Nah, not really. It was an issue on the odd presentation, but yeah, it's really difficult when you're only dealing with curtains as a break. Then it's really, really difficult to keep noise out. But as Catherine said, if you're down the front or in the middle, you're kind of generally all right with it. If you're near the back, you get it, you're aware of it, but you're trying to focus on what's on in front of you, so you kind of dismiss it after a little bit. But there was one time where it got a little bit loud, and I thought, you know what, that's unfair to the person doing the presenting, actually, because they must hear it as well, and maybe trying to talk over it a little bit, and that's unfair to them. But no, I think personally, I thought the organisation was very, very well done. I mean, I said that to you before, Matt. I thought your MCing of the whole thing was great when you were involved in that. I think the presenters and the way that was done was all done really, really well, and it came across as a nice, easy thing. That no egos, no prima donnas, or none of that kind of nonsense. Everybody just seemed to be there to do their thing and give people what they came for, type of idea. And I thought it was really well organised, really did.
Yeah, there's a thank you for that, Stevie. There's a interesting point here from Becky Carroll. I'll bring it up on the screen in case the users want to see it. Becky Carroll says it was a little bit annoying that the start times were staggered across different theatres. I wonder if it would be best if all theatres started at the same times. I did notice sometimes with our Therapy Update theatre, people would suddenly either disappear or arrive 20 minutes late because they were in another one. And it was obviously, if you join a presentation late, then sometimes that can ruin the whole effect and the dynamic of it. Why do they stagger them? What's the deal there? I'm not quite sure. I never thought about that before, Becky. Thanks for bringing it up. Could they all just start and finish at the same time with an interval in between? Or is it to try and help the entry and queues and force people almost to make a decision so you're not bottlenecking it? I don't know. Have you thought about that before, Mike Grice? Not to put you on the spot, but
yeah, I think previously, I think they've been at the same time, and you do get just a rush out of the theatres. So maybe that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to, just stagger that rush. But from a speaker's point of view, I've presented a couple of times when Paul Coker has been presenting for Rock Tape on the other side of the curtain. And that was a challenge, but it was a little bit noisy this time, but not too bad. There was a little bit of interference there, but yeah, as a speaker, you can hear it. You can hear it all, and I guess if you're new to it, then it would put you off. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, I think you just knocked it on the head. I was thinking going back to kind of 14, 15, 16, it was like 5 deep queues, waiting outside, having to move around just to continue your journey. And that probably was because they were all at the same time.
Yeah.
So it did actually work this year. I didn't notice those massive queues because they were staggering them. You had to literally make that choice. And the exit was probably easier. It's probably a health and safety thing, so it kind of worked. Yeah, I get that. I think Gary, who's obviously been there every single year, has mentioned here, historically, the hall's emptied when all theatres start at the same time. So assume it's to keep footfall out of the theatres and on the floor. Yeah, true. That makes sense as well. So that it doesn't all go suddenly quiet for everybody. Yeah, that makes sense, Gary. Yeah, but again, it's difficult, isn't it, to please people all the time? Tricky. Anything else that you think particularly worked well across the conference, or anything that you didn't think didn't work well?
So we were talking on the stand before everybody started coming in. I thought it was really good that I didn't realise they were going to do it. Maybe I missed the email, but I thought everybody got COVID passport checked. And if they didn't have a COVID passport, then they had to have a lateral flow test. So I thought that was really good. But we were thinking, because about 9 o'clock, 9:30, it was pretty quiet in the hall, and we were thinking, oh no, this is going to be a really quiet show. And then all of a sudden, just everybody started coming in, and it was brilliant. And I think the setup where we were, everybody you could get easy 50, 60 people around, and they could come and go out of the sessions. It was really good. It was really bizarre because I would kind of like be chatting away, and then all of a sudden I'd notice someone like you, Catherine, who I'd seen on a screen, and I was like, hiya. And then I carry on again. So it was really good to do that. And even really weirdly, one of my neighbours was there because he's trying to sell something at the occupational therapy show, and he was there, which was really bizarre because it was completely out of context. It was. I think the way all the setup and the amount of people that could see like the Therapy Update zone as well. I think all the setup around there was just really well done. I think. Looking forward to next year.
Yeah.
I think it will be. Yeah. I mean, they do seem with Liam again, because we had Liam on the show, but with him kind of looking at control, he did in the show seem really keen to get feedback as much as possible and to find out what works, because if the therapists are happy, then obviously more are going to come along. And so he's really keen on molding it according to what they see from this year. So yeah, be excited. Already we're thinking about things with the STA for next year. On that subject, is there anything which you think would improve it for next year? Anything which wasn't there this year, which you think would improve it, Stevie or Catherine? What did you feel you're missing out on?
Probably, hopefully, get like Gary Mendoza or something to do with motivational interviewing.
Oh, we
Kind of
tried. I
behaviour.
tried. Yeah.
Something like to do with that behaviour change. Someone talk about that kind of thing as well. Because I should have, but didn't go to the business side of things. So I potentially would look at the business presentations probably next year as well.
Yeah, was there many business sides? I know Sif had a little bit going on. Malcolm was there. But I mean, in previous years, there's been quite a lot of that. But I don't know.
It was just a small theatre, I think. I remember it being a section on there, but it wasn't a lot.
Yeah, so maybe something along motivational interviewing. I mean, that was my gem on the presentation I did. That was out of 77. That personally for me stuck in there because it was just made such sense that however good you are at communicating or educating or teaching, unless you know where that person is in terms of, am I ready to change? Am I ready to listen? Am I going to go home and make that change now? Or am I going to need a few more sessions of you doing what I expect you to do before? That just makes beautiful sense. It really is the icing on the cake for treating an individual rather than the kind of injury. So yeah, I would have liked something on that. It's true. I obviously didn't get to see that many presentations because I was hosting the ones in the Therapy Update Theatre, but there seemed to be quite a variety of stuff going on. There was a COVID-19 long term, which I think was quite popular. I think there's a couple of them actually, but that was obviously very topical. Did anyone go and see that?
I saw Susan's, and I think Emma saw Gina's.
Gina got good feedback. I heard from a few people, which is nice. Very relevant. Questions in here? Let's have a look. Again, if you're showing up as a Facebook user and you don't want that to happen next week, then have a look for the link which you have to sign a thing just saying, yes, Facebook can use my information, and then you have to sign it, and then they'll allow your image to come up. I just want to see here, there's a little point from a Facebook user which says, reassuring to hear about LFT and vaccine passports. I made the decision to not go because of people and lack of masks. Pictures appear to show that fear was founded, but this possibly illustrates why. Yeah, I mean, I remember leaving there and then just walking along the NEC kind of to go to the station. And even then, suddenly people were closer to me and it was like, right, mask off my wrist on. And then I got to the tube and the train and that was just like, there was people on the tube and maybe 30% of the people were not wearing masks at all. Maybe they didn't, maybe they couldn't wear masks or they had exceptions, but it felt very strange sitting on a tube where there's like lack of air anyway and some people not wearing masks. I'm kind of glad now in public transport that it's kind of, been re-established because it just seems logical, but some people just don't. But in the actual centre, I personally didn't feel as threatened as I worried sometimes. It was done very well, and every time you went out and in, you were scanned, like you say, and it seemed pretty well organised. They did
and we got to wear COVID bracelets as well.
Yeah,
so once we'd had it, we were wearing that as well. Yeah,
it was very good.
I mean, I think most people, or some people, did the sensible thing that if you did feel that it was a little bit crowded in where you were standing, you just popped the mask up for a bit, and when it eased off, and you were distancing again, you take it down, and that's just good common sense. But you're right, Matt, on the trains and stuff. I've never seen so many ill people in my life who have obviously got some exemption for wearing a mask.
Might be. I don't know. It sounds very cynical of you there, Stevie. Were you suggesting that it's not all exemptions? No, like you said, I had a risk the whole time. Everyone's different. But definitely, if I was talking to somebody or near somebody, if I was sitting in a presentation with someone sitting like a couple of seats away from me with a mask on, then bam, I'll stick it on. Because for all I know, they're with people who are kind of high risk or they're high risk. So why wouldn't you put it on? But if I was around people who didn't have masks and they weren't too close to me, I was pretty cool with it. We'll see where it goes. Let's have a little look just here because I don't want to miss people out. Loan therapist alarm companies would be good. Yeah, nice one, Becky. Draws on the conversation we had about safety at work. That will get sent back to Liam. Very good. Gosh, she's such an intelligent therapist and human being, isn't she? Very good, Becky. Yeah, nice shout. Yeah, definitely. Gary mentions here, I walked past one of the business sessions in an open theatre and one chap was talking to no one in the audience. Oh, bless. Might require a mindset change from therapists. Yeah. It's interesting because online the business ones I think do really well. People suddenly, I think it's weird, but when it came to the face, people weren't too interested in hearing about the business. The Massage Collective talk, says Louise Aker. Lovely to meet you, Louise, as well. Thank you. That was really nice to meet you in person and to get your name right. Louise Aker says the Massage Collective talks were really helpful, especially learning about massage and cancer, which was a real eye-opener. That was a real reminder for me. That's something I just want to mention as well is, again, because we've been on the podcast together and we've shared all these weeks, we kind of think everyone knows that massage doesn't increase circulation per se, that you don't break down knots, that massage doesn't spread cancer, that massage is very unlikely to cause miscarriage in the first trimester. All that stuff we take for granted. But I tell you what, when Anna Maria and Matt were doing the massage at cancer, there was pens changing and people going afterwards, I never knew that. I always feared that I couldn't work on someone with cancer because I was going to spread it around the body. That's what we were taught. And it was a real nice wake-up call that we are just a drop in the ocean for now. Next year, different story. But yeah, even though we all know these things, we can't take it for granted. There's a hell of a lot of really gifted, empathy-filled practitioners out there who don't realise that you can change someone's life by doing.
I even asked Matt after the presentation, because I missed the beginning of it, because I'd always thought it would be that I wasn't insured to cover massaging people who have cancer. He said, if you're with Balance and you've done your level 4, you are. It's just asking the right questions to the client before you take them on and massage them.
Yeah, really interesting. And that's really warming as well, because we don't want to just be in an echo chamber where we're just telling people who already know it. And that was the lovely thing about the Therapy Update Theatre, because we were in that open bit. Obviously, it's lovely to see the people who have listened to the podcast sitting there, and we're all kind of like going, yeah, this is great, well done, woo, woo, Claire Mitchell. But it was really nice, the people going around the background who were kind of stopping and going, why are all these people standing around here? Why are they all so tall? And then stopping and kind of watching the actual presentation and going, oh, that's interesting. They were the people who we really want to reach, you know. It was really cool. So it was lovely to see that. Facebook user here. I'm sorry I haven't got your name, Facebook user. I apologise, but yeah, tick that tag and you'll be here next week. Empathy-filled therapist. I love this term. Must be Dan. It sounds like it was going to be Anna Marie speaking like that, but I don't know what. It's all about the empathy. That's why I try and not get too cynical when people are not using evidence-based stuff, because to do this profession, you've got to be quite altruistic. You're not going to earn much money. You've already ready to, in some cases, rub oil some hairy back, which not a lot of people in the world want to do for a living. So you've got the empathy, which is why it's so important that you don't hear somebody making you feel, oh, none of this is working anymore, I may as well stop. That would be such a waste of human resource. So, Debs, it was you actually as a Facebook user. Maybe because you've joined us via a group or something. Sorry, Debs. Debs talk, yours was great as well, massively. Oh, I'll tell you what, I was disappointed with though, Debs. Made me return to my cynical thing. Not a lot of guys. That annoyed me. There was 2 who I think singled out and I shouldn't have done, which is really dangerous of me going, oh, I'm glad there's a gentleman in the audience there. That was a dangerous gamble, Matt. But yeah, I was a bit disappointed that it was only female therapists majority who turned up for that. So yeah, that was a bit annoying. But again, people did stop out of the way. Right, I feel like I've been rattling on 20 minutes. So we've talked about what we think could improve next year, but all in all, pretty good, no? Walking away feeling positive from it?
Yeah.
Really good, yeah.
Surrounded by tall men.
That's the life.
I felt tiny.
And Mike as well.
I was going to say, there's obviously not when I was there. Yeah.
When I had Matt, Jake, and then Gary, you're like, I feel so small.
We bumped into Mike. James was the first person we saw. We were waiting outside, and Mike just looked up at the 3 of us and went, what is it about the STA? What you guys and Mike's no short, he's not short. He's probably about 6 foot or something. But like anyone who doesn't realise, Gary is probably, I think, is pretty much the same as me, sort of 6'6". Jake's probably 6'7". Yeah. So yeah, it's but hey, it's not about the quantity, is it? We know it's about the heart inside. Although I think Mike will back me up here, saying that if you're a bigger person, you've probably got a bigger heart and brain as well. So it doesn't really work. It's the old fist thing. So I've got bigger heart than all of you. Sorry. But anyway, right. We are coming to the end of the hour. Thank you for joining us, people live, and for people listening to the podcast. Again, because it was such a big conference and it's annual, do please send your emails to matt@thesta.co.uk if you've got any kind of criticism, positive or negative, any advice or kind of feelings you want to share with the organisers, then I'm happy to pass them on, and we will make another episode of follow-up later on when we've got Liam Richardson, who's the content manager, to talk about it. So Mike, you obviously spoke a lot, had the rock tape thing there, been there pretty much every year, I think. Have you got any, did it make you as an educator think what you want to do next year, or how you want to use yourself in any different ways?
I was just going to say, what I would really like, what would be really valuable is those that were there and watched my sessions. Is there anything that you want me to do next year that I didn't do? And obviously those that didn't attend, if you could go, then what would you want to see? Because each year I'm kind of scrabbling for ideas, really. So if I can do the things that you want to see, then that would really help me to plan for next year.
Very good point. Feedback's so important, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. And obviously that goes for STA as well. If there's anything that members who did go feel that we could improve, any feedback, very welcome. And the same for people who didn't go along. I know some people didn't go because of COVID. So that's a fair enough reason at different circumstances. But if there was any other reason you didn't come along, which anything we could do which would entice you to come along, because it's all about members meeting each other and kind of like spreading information, then let us know as well. Becky Carroll again is kind of a bit of dust in my eye here, as Becky says, cheers Matt Phillips, Stevie Barrat, Mike Grice, Catherine Reimer and Gary Benson, proud to be an STA member. Go on, Mice. No, it was really nice. It was so lovely seeing everybody there and meeting people. I mean, again, as we always say, you don't have to be an STA member to hang out on these Tuesdays. You might decide you want to be, because this is what it's all about. It's what the STA is all about. It's all about improving the ties and communication, as opposed to kind of fueling our own pockets. It's a charity. It doesn't make anything we make gets fueled back into the members, and the whole business of spreading good information. So if you are interested, as always, go along to the Sports Therapy Association.co.uk.
What I was
there. Yes, Catherine.
What I was talking to someone about earlier, because he said there was a guy I know that said he wanted to go to Therapy Expo but didn't realise till too late, and he said, what would you do before next year's? And I said probably network with people, find out more about others or people in the industry, so that when you go, you know someone. Because when I first got a ticket, didn't know anyone. So actually having the pandemic has helped me to make this little community and this little STA family, and it made it a better experience that way too.
That's a really good point. I think that's why this year was different. Again, if we go back to before COVID, people who went to Therapy Expo were a little bit kind of, don't give away too much of what I do. It was a totally different atmosphere. You were going there to try and, if you went to see a good presentation, you wouldn't tell anybody else. You'd be like, no, I'm not going to see anyone now. No, I'm just going to sit in the canteen. Bam, off you go to Mike Stewart or something, take it all down. And that's totally kind of gone because of the pandemic, I think. We understand that you've got more to gain by talking to someone and sharing what they've done, rather than trying to build the walls and stuff. So yeah, great point, Catherine. Let's hope that we're still talking, before next November, and we can kind of share and talk and go along as a community rather than kind of competitors. Good point. Thank you, Louise Aker. Thank you. She says, thank you. Also proud to be an STA member. The support is above and beyond. And Alistair Cunningham as well. Well, I'm going to give the final word because it's 9:06. Says, thank you, Matt, Mike Grice, Catherine Ryman, Stevie Barrat. Love spending time with you all last week. Yeah, it was lovely to see you, Alistair, as well. It was great. Yeah. Right. Okay, gang. So thank you so much for giving up your time. So what do we got next week coming on the Sports Therapy Association podcast? Well, December hits us and we're going to start a slightly new kind of way of doing things. It's going to be the month will have a topic. Okay, and the way it will work is we'll have 2 world-class speakers and authorities on the topic, doing 2 guest appearances, and then in between them there'll be a chance for members or non-members, no, just members, to actually get together on screen and talk about the previous week, because we want to kind of extend the shelf life. We get such great speakers on here, and I've got 2 coming up, I'll let you know now, that it's a shame to package them all together. So and it'll give a chance for people who are excited about a particular topic to put time aside and realize, I want to be part of this for this month, maybe not so much next month. So December is going to be all about fascia. It's going to be fascinating. But yeah, and we've got sorry, Stevie. So next week we have got who again I met at the conference, which was wonderful. We're going to have Julian Baker of Functional Fascia.
Excellent.
Yay, says Catherine.
Yes.
Fantastic source again of someone who's tweaked the norm, delivered an updated version of what they used to teach, has run into various problems because of that. And Julian's going to be accompanied by Anna Barrat-Skerin. Don't know how that pronunciation is. I'm hoping it's okay. But yeah, Anna Barrat-Skerin of Moving Fascia, and also of Brighton, which is weird. Another person just around the corner from me, with Brighton Pilates, who is going to be joining us as well. So 2 guests, and they'll be starting off our Fascia December month. Then there'll be a possibility after the week after for again 3 other members to join us on screen to have a chat about that episode. So if you do watch it and you want to come up here, you can see now. I mean, we've proved this week that anyone can come up here and do it. So yeah, if you want to come up and talk about it, then that would be nice. Generate some interest and come along and join us and talk about it. Disagree a little bit more maybe on what the speaker said. The week after, we've got the wonderful Walt Fritz back, who, if you missed, is an amazing example of someone who had to do pretty much a U-turn on being very passionate and defending everything, a total fasciist with regards to what fascia is and does, and then listened, got into some debated arguments on Soma Simple and stuff, and then just finally said, you know what, yeah, you're right, interesting. And rather than just giving up, they turned it around, and now they're one of the great providers of fascia-related delivery on this planet. So Walt will be here with Tanya Velasquez from the Bronx, from New York, who's a therapist there, body worker there, who'll be joining Walt as well, which I'm very excited about as well. So Fascia December, spread the word. Let's get some people along who maybe are traditional fascia workers, who believe that they have the power in their elbows to break down the IT band. I want to get these people so that we can talk and maybe kind of, have a look at the research and help educate each other. So spread the word. Fascia is December. That's about it, I think.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay,
Matt.
Wait.
Oh, hold on.
Fingers up. Oh yeah, you haven't disappeared,
Yeah,
have you?
frozen.
Nice, Stevie. Congratulations on not.
Yes, that's the first thing. Second thing, happy St Andrew's Day, people.
Oh, happy
Flange.
St Andrew's Day, everybody. Is there a song for that?
I've got.
Oh, Danny boy.
Yay.
Oh, no.
Water.
That's not the one, is it?
Get off.
Sorry, mate. Right, we'll see you same time next week, Tuesday, 8 o'clock UK time on the Sportstopia Association podcast. And for now, it's goodbye from everybody. Everybody, goodbye.
Good night, folks.
Bye.
Thanks a
Good
lot.
night for joining us.